Welcome to the Nerds and Friends podcast. Today we have a very special interview with Game Master Zachary Williams, the Dungeon Master, Game Master of the brand new D&D Actual Play podcast Unlucky Dicelings. Good to see you, Zach. Thanks for joining me. I was about to say us, but my co-hosts aren't here.
Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, I've been listening to your new podcast, Unlucky Dicelings, and I love it. I love the catchphrase that you start the first full episode out with, which is the only D&D podcast where failing is as fun as succeeding, and I love that. So before I dive into that, because I want to talk about your kind of approach to being a game master, but what made you want to do an actual play podcast? Just tell me about how this got started.
So I've been trying to do a podcast for since 2019. I started a anime podcast that didn't see an episode launch with a buddy of mine. I then started a trading card podcast with that same buddy that I did the anime podcast with, and another friend that also did not launch. So I've been itching to get something out there, and I just went, you know what? I'm going to go out into the community and go, hey, I want to try this. Who's willing to take the leap with me? And I got lucky and got an amazing crew of people.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Like, what was your selection process for players? Were they people who had been at your table before, or how did that work?
It was actually complete strangers. I reached out to the Dungeons and Daddies fan group and went, hey, I want to do this. Does anybody want in? And I had so many people go, hey, I want in. And
That's
I had to
awesome.
just go, okay, here's the link. And if they went in. And then I went, okay, I've got 6 people now. I've reached my cap where I'm comfortable. And I had to start rejecting people and go, I'm so sorry. We reached the limit.
That's a good problem to have, but that's amazing, though, because listening to it, I thought, okay, these are experienced players who you have a rapport with, who are comfortable being recorded and on camera, and to hear that it's just people you met through a fan group is awesome. That's so exciting.
The person who plays Lyra, she has never played D&D before. This is her first introduction into it. Wow. And to be able to kind of be the one that goes, here, let me show you the ropes. I feel real honored to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love teaching people D&D because it's like my favorite passion outside of my work. So I love it. You know, it's brought me so much joy. I love sharing it with people. So I never have games where I'm like experienced players only, you know, like, so that's awesome.
I love the hobby, and the more people I can get into it, the better. Like, I was at a doctor's appointment, and my nurse was talking to me. I told her about the D&D podcast, and she's like, well, I've never played. And I'm like, we could be your intro.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, I have a couple questions about, as someone who also has an actual play podcast, I have some questions about like the kind of how the sausage gets made with making your podcast. But before that, I want to talk about like, tell me more about that awesome catchphrase of the only D&D podcast where failing is as fun as succeeding. Like, tell me more how that plays into your style as a game master.
So my original idea, reason why it's called Unlucky Dicelings, is because I wanted to find a way to make rolling a 1 more exciting than, oh, you slip and fall on a banana peel. So I made a table of 20 different options that if you decide to, like I said in the episode, take a chance at fate and roll on this table, something interesting is going to happen. Whether it be you just
hear a magical sound go off from the ether.
Yeah, you hear a magical voice telling you, hey, go over here and do this thing. Whether it be you just spontaneously combust, or you lose some sort of power, whether it be leveling down or losing some of your abilities, or it works in the opposite way. Good things can happen on the table, such as you leveling up, healing, having a enemy attack another enemy.
Oh, that's awesome. So it can have some very real consequences, worse than a typical nat 1, or it can
yes.
have some boons. And I like that too, because when you first said leveling up or leveling down, that made me nervous. But then I realized, okay, if people can go up or down pretty like easily, then having someone who for a couple sessions is a level or two above the rest of the party, it's not going to break the game. So that's actually a really cool way to do it.
Yeah. The leveling down, I have it set, and the leveling up, it's set to where if it happens, it's to the entire party. So that way
Oh,
nobody kind of power creeps.
okay. Oh, that's awesome. It's like everyone gets. Oh, that I can't wait to listen and hear how everyone reacts in character to that happening,
Oh yeah.
especially when they get to like level 4 or 5 and they're starting to feel powerful, and you can just nope.
It is a the fact that a lot of the feedback I'm getting is they like the people are nervous when that nat one shows up. They're like, do I roll it? Do I not?
Yeah. Well, those kinds of decisions are what make it fun for the players and anyone watching. It's like making people weigh the different options and the pros and cons, and being like, I don't know what I want.
Yeah, not to give any spoilers for potential listeners, but there is a key moment where someone does nat one, and they have to sit there and go, do I want to do this?
That's awesome. I love that. I can't wait to listen to more episodes. Sorry, I'm distracted. One of my cats he sees I'm on a Zoom call and he's like, "You must pay attention to me."
Oh no, you're good. I'm surprised mine hasn't gone. Oh, look at me.
They're trained now. When I put the headset on, they're like, "We have to go be disruptive. It's what we do."
Yeah.
Well, a quick pivot to like making an actual play podcast, because I mean, there's so many challenges people don't realize to making one of these. I mean, besides the logistics of recording, which I mean, Zoom has made that a lot easier, but um, like the audio editing and all of that, like what are some of the challenges you faced in the production of this and how you overcame them? I just wanted to bring that up, you know.
So we record through Discord, and we use what's called Craig, and Craig is a Discord bot that will sit there and record everyone's individual tracks, so that way we can kind of piece it together and go, okay, this is where we need to edit this and this. It does help that our editor Alan, the he plays Mank. He's really good at what he does. Uh, like right there, the he can spot those now just looking at them. Episode one, we've kind of it's kind of rough, but we did that intentionally because I mean, if you're gonna stick around for the story and the it's not gonna bother you, then we know, hey, we've got your attention just based on what we're doing.
True.
And the first couple of the Tavern Time episodes, I edited them myself. I wanted them to kind of sound like a morning talk show where it's you have one take and that's it. It's we're live.
Yeah. That's cool. And I think with the ease of like editing on your phones and everything nowadays, we've kind of lost that uh one take authenticity. So I like that you went for that. That's cool. I had a question for that bot, Craig on Discord. Is that able to do video as well or just audio?
Unfortunately, is not able to do video. I have
Mm,
to run OBS in the background to capture video because we have it a video call going, and then I use the video from OBS to make clips for like TikTok, Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, which is currently what I'm in the process of getting going right now.
nice. Yeah, the marketing side is another thing people don't realize, because
Oh
like
yeah,
putting in so much work to this, you want people to watch it, of course. Part of why we're doing this interview on Nerds
the
and Friends.
amount of times I've had to go, hey, I hate to do this, but can you listen to this? Just in the last few days, it's astounding.
That's good though. You're making something. Like you're taking something you're passionate about and you're creating something with it to help spread the joy in the community that is ever growing and loves this awesome hobby that is so customizable to like what people want it to be. So I'm excited that this is happening, and I can't wait to listen to, because I love the emphasis on failure. And like so many people who don't know much about D&D, they kind of ask that stereotypical question of, well, how do you win? I'm like, no, like it's about having fun. And
Yeah, you don't win.
yeah, like characters with flaws and weaknesses, like those are the most fun. Like the game we're in, I made the dumbest character ever, and it's
Oh,
so much
yes.
fun to play. I love it because I'm basically Charlie Day from Always Sunny, but with a little bit of magic. Totally illiterate, can't do, and it's just awesome. I love it.
Yes, that is now how my head canon now.
Yep, that was the origin of the character. I was like, I always start with a fictional character, and then they morph into something else as I play them. But there's always a starting point. So, um, quick question for Unlucky Dicelings. How heavy is it going to get into the homebrew, or are you sticking to existing D&D modules?
So my rules are up until a certain point is official books only.
Okay,
If there is something that is from like Kobold, is it Kobold Press?
I think so. I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it's something from them and it's not too game breaking,
yeah,
one of my players did send me a book and go, "Hey, I would like to use this at some point." I'm like, "Okay, I can check it out,
yeah,
see if it's not going to like break the game."
yeah.
Pretty much anything outside of Unearthed Arcana, and as long as it's not like too busted for the setting, then I'm fine with it.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, and that gives a lot of your listeners consistency to where they're kind of familiar, so they can be like, "Hey, I really want to see where these characters are going to navigate this encounter not this encounter, but like this event in the D&D compendium of events that they're
Yep.
already familiar with." So that's really cool.
The setting itself is completely homebrew, but
Nice.
outside of that, everything is official material. So, like, if you want to make your own version of text, which is a Leonin, you can go, okay, well, what book is this in?
Nice. That's cool if people want to adapt it for their own tables. That's a really cool thing too. Do you have any cats that come and join on the podcast, make little cameos?
So we do have. I don't remember what episode it is. I believe it is the one we're going to be releasing on the 10th, episode 2. We
Yeah.
have a cat cameo from one of our players.
Nice. That's awesome. And so how do you have like a schedule for how often episodes are releasing, or since we're so new in this podcast, is it just kind of like for like my podcast we do every Thursday, but like what's the schedule listeners can expect?
My goal is every other Tuesday. So we record
Nice.
every other Monday, so bi-weekly, and we have a little bit of a backlog. So you got
Yeah.
episode 1 this week. The next one will be episode 2, but we've already recorded 3, and when we recorded 3, we launched 1. And so when we
Nice.
record 4, we're going to launch 2. We set up a
Awesome.
backlog that way just in case something happens, we can't record, we can still upload an episode.
That's smart. It took me a long time to figure that out, and now that I have that backlog is where I'm able to finally say every Thursday, because before it was, hey, we uploaded an episode and then I got busy with life, and 2 months later, here's the next one. So we're finally on track. So you're doing it the smart way from the get-go. So that's awesome.
Yes.
That's
It
really cool.
does help that Tex has done a podcast before.
Nice.
And so he kind of came in with experience going, hey, this is kind of ideas of how we should do things.
That's awesome. I had a fun question for you that's a little bit what's the word, cliche, but I wanted to ask it.
All right.
Are you a forever DM, or do you like playing just as much as DMing, or what's kind of your D&D profile as a person?
So I'm a little bit of a semi forever DM. Like I primarily DM. I primarily, honestly, I enjoy DMing more than being a player because I like being able to build a story, build a world,
Yeah,
and not as much of being in the story.
same here. what would be your advice for people who have never DM'd but want to? They want to get into being a game master. What are like the top tips that you've learned in your time as a semi forever DM?
Don't be afraid of failing. That first session, that first campaign is going to be rough. It gets easier the more you practice. It's like any kind of art form. The more you do it, the better you get. You'll figure out your style. Try to find people that kind of fit your style. Like for me, I am a here's the scene, here's what's happening. I'm going to sit here and let you do things, which I kind of had to adjust into and figure out that's the mold I fit, because I originally was wanting to go, okay, boom, 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 boom. This is happening. You're doing this. They're doing this.
Right.
And I took my main inspiration. This might be an answer to a future question, but Anthony Birch from Dungeons and Daddies and Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Yep.
That's my two. That's essentially two of my Mount Rushmore right there.
Yeah, they're good. They're good role models for DMing. I'm more familiar with Brennan Lee Mulligan than Josh Birch, or what's his first
Anthony
name?
Birch.
Anthony
Yeah.
Birch. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's awesome because yeah, I especially like Brennan Lee Mulligan's approach because he has so much kind of like a theatrical like kind of improv angle to it, which is really fun.
Oh yeah.
So that's awesome. What are Can you tell me about like one of the first times when you were still an early game master where like something worked out in an unexpected way and like you learned so like you kind of leveled up as a game master? I'd love to hear about like an anecdote on that.
So the first campaign I ever tried to run, I had the gimmick of the whole town's going insane, and the longer you're in there, the more prolonged you are to it. And so
Oh, that's
you
cool.
had to every morning you had to make a wisdom save, and I originally set it like obscenely high, and then I was like, this doesn't give me what I'm wanting, so I need to like tweak it a bit to get the desired effect. And I did, and it kind of actually started procking some more, and got to do some interesting things with that mechanic.
That is a really cool mechanic. I like that a lot. Um, Yeah. Oh man, my I'm trying not to get distracted. My DM brain is spinning because for
Okay.
my actual play podcast, I'd love to have them go into a town and have like an expanded like confusion or madness table that they have to roll on every day. Ooh,
Okay.
I like
It
that.
was nice.
That's cool. Well, you've mentioned twice now using like roles and then like tables. Like, what are some of the resources that have helped you as a DM to kind of have going into the game? So that if you need to pull on some kind of resource, either a table or like certain sets of mechanics, or like, I'm curious what things you'd recommend to other DMs in that regard.
So a lot of the times, for example, with the chance of fate table, a lot of that was me going, okay, what are good things that can happen in this game? Like, what are positive things like leveling up, healing, gaining ability scores, and then what are bad things for the madness table? That was something I found. I don't remember what book I found it in, but I found it and went, "Oh, okay, I could use this."
Mm,
It's honestly just a lot of studying.
yeah, and just kind of finding the things that resonate with you the most that you can just kind of keep ready to bring to your players when you need.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. What are some goals you have as a DM, either just as a game master or with this podcast? Like, what are some future goals you have on your D&D bucket list?
Uh, so honestly, my main thing is I want to entertain people. I want to see that number go up. Like right now, my goal is 50 listeners or 50 followers. We are currently at, last time I checked, we were at 8 on Spotify.
Okay. I'm one of those 8, proudly.
Yes.
Hopefully, some of our listeners will add to that tally.
And then as far as the like more broad spectrum, I want to get to the point where we're able to do stuff like live shows and tours and stuff like that. I want to essentially turn this podcast into a hey, I get paid to play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends.
That's the dream.
That is the goal.
That is the dream. Yeah. That is
Like,
awesome.
I
Because yeah, I mean,
see.
if we can do the thing we love and like pay the
Yeah,
bills with it, that's the dream, right?
yeah. Because I'll see like Critical Role, Dimension 20, Dungeons and Daddies all doing like live shows, and I'm like, that must be nice.
It's fun, but like as someone who's DM'd professionally myself, like how do you deal with the idea of the awesomeness of having so many people be a fan and like paying the bills with it, but also that adds a certain level of like stress and responsibility. I'm always afraid that if I make it too much of my professional life, that it might detract from the fun. Like, I'm just curious what your approach is there to balancing those things.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, because yeah, I get where you're coming from. If I start doing it professionally, like I have to make sure everyone is entertained, but then I have to also sit here and think, well, not everyone is going to be entertained. Like I've just episode one, I've been getting mixed feedback of, hey, I absolutely love this and can't wait to hear more, to sorry, this isn't for me. And it's just the ones that are going to stick around, the ones that are going to actually end up going, hey, I'm going to go a state or two over to see them live. Those are the ones that I'm more concerned of keeping entertained. Like if somebody's, I get somebody 6 months in, and they go, hey, I didn't like this thing. That's going to weigh more on me than somebody that listened halfway through the first episode and went, yeah, this ain't for me. You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
And as far as like work life balance, I I could play D&D 7 days a week
Yeah,
and
me too.
be perfectly fine getting paid or not getting paid. It'd be more balancing out professional playing and personal playing,
That's a
getting
good point.
equal balance of both.
Yeah, because I think playing when there's low stakes and it's just purely for fun, um, it's great if you're a professional DM to kind of keep your skills sharp. It's almost like going to the gym.
Oh
And
yeah.
then for me as a writer and actor, it helps for those professions as well, which is great. So, um, but yeah, no, that's a really wise approach. Like you want to make sure that, like, if you try to make something that's going to appeal to everyone, it's probably not going to appeal to anyone. Like sticking to landing on a mass appeal art form is so difficult, and it tends to lose people over time because you can't take risks, you can't be innovative, you can't
Yeah.
raise the stakes in any interesting ways. So that's a really smart approach, man. I love that.
I mean, the way I see it, probably easiest way to put it into perspective. Think like fast food. There are so many hamburgers, but not everybody is going to like every hamburger.
Right. There's only so many times you can eat McDonald's before you're like, I want real
Yes.
food. Which if I have to make it, it might not turn out right, but it might be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's awesome. I love that's a great allegory. I love that. What is okay, here's a good question. Do you consider yourself a dice goblin? I know I have a dice hoarding
So
problem.
yeah. You see the blue thing right behind me?
Oh
That
yes. Is that
is
full of dice?
that is full of dice. And then I
Respect.
have, I don't know if you see it. It's the little dragon on top of a treasure chest.
Oh,
That is
that's
also
awesome. Also
full
full
of
of dice?
dice.
Hell yeah. You want to raise it up for the camera so we can see?
Oh
I want,
yes.
want to see some dice. Oh, very nice. That is
Uh,
awesome.
and then I have a set that is a gift from my wonderful significant other.
Shout out to the significant other. Love a good
Second,
gift.
it is the Dungeons and Daddies set, and
What? That's awesome.
they
Oh, those are
are,
beautiful.
yeah,
Whoa.
the white dice specifically is the dice I pull out to go, hey,
Time to roll on that table. Are they metal, so they have that great, like, satisfying weight when you roll them?
Oh yeah, I had to get a dice tray because I was afraid I would put it through my table.
Yes, a good dice tray is worth its weight in gold. Well, Game Master Zachary Williams of the Unlucky Dicelings podcast, which is on Spotify. Can anyone find you anywhere else besides Spotify?
So we're on Spotify. We're also on iHeartRadio.
Nice.
And I am currently in the process of uploading the episodes to YouTube Music as well.
Heck yeah. Well, the links are going to be in this episode, whether you're listening to Nerds and Friends on Spotify, go follow Unlucky Dicelings, or the link's going to be in the YouTube video. Go check them out. Game Master Zachary Williams. This was so exciting and fun. Can't wait to listen to more episodes, and I can't wait to play D&D again with you in the future, my friend.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Any final words of wisdom to the D&D community, to your listeners before we go?
Words of wisdom. If you're ever sitting here wondering, should I start something? The answer is yes. It is better to start now than to sit here and go, well, I should have done this. Just pull the Band-Aid off and just do it.
Those are super motivating words to live by. I wholeheartedly agree. Dude, this has been a great interview. Thank you so much for being on Nerds and Friends.
Yeah, thank you for having me.